The road traveled has been difficult, but my faith actually has gotten stronger. I still question lots of things, but my faith is stronger because I stopped believing that my relationship with Christ had anything to do with anybody else. My relationship with Christ was mine.
There is something special inside you.
Welcome to GNG Podcast with your host, speaker, best-selling author, Chaz Jackson.
Yo, what's going on, kings and queens? It's your boy Chaz Jackson with you once again, representing GNG Gifting and Gift Podcast. You know what our motto on this podcast is. You are gifted differently to make a difference. And do you know why? Because greatness made you. Therefore, greatness is within you. And on this podcast, we encourage you to echo that greatness in whatever area you are called to lead in. And we have the president and CEO of YMCA Metropolitan of Fort Worth among us. King Mike Brown Jr. is in the building. How you doing, sir?
Good, how are you?
I'm well. I'm blessed. Blessed to be in your presence and excited about this opportunity to have you on the show and to get you in front of the GNG podcast audience. And I just want to read off a brief introduction. Mike Brown Jr. is a man of faith. He's a husband, a father. He believes fun and excitement are keys to inspiring others, and pretty good dancer also, man. I seen you on that Good to Be Alive video, man. So I was hoping that you was gonna wear that coat on this interview. maybe next time we gotta get you back.
You didn't give me the memo.
Over 3 decades of dedicated to fostering community growth and development, Mike Brown has proudly committed 32 years of service to the YMCA, where he has honed his skills as a passionate leader and advocate for youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. Now, as the, again, president and CEO of the YMCA of Metropolitan Fort Worth, his dedication remains unwavering. His mission is to inspire individuals and teams through adversity to achieve their full potential. And I would love for you to dive a little bit deeper on your story, Mike, of how did you get to where you are now in 2024, continue to live out this mission that I just read off.
Jeez, I'm sure you're gonna ask lots of different questions, but I would start by saying I went to school to be a teacher.
Oh.
And realized that being stuck in a classroom without the freedoms of creativity and innovation and fun was going to be difficult. So got involved with the Y and had lots of great leaders throughout my time that took me with them to Ys that they were leading. And it really built on my career and over 32 years led me right here into Fort Worth.
I'm sure you've seen a lot of success. So if you had to give a definition for success, what would that look like?
I say the same thing every time somebody asks me this. So I might reverse your question just a little bit, because all success, I always say when people ask me what the hardest thing in my job is, it's people. But the success that I've seen is when we invest in people. So when our staff and our teams and our volunteers are invested in and they feel good about what they're doing, that's what gets the highest success. No amount of money in the world, great buildings, facilities, none of that is what actually makes the business. It's the people that we have, the people that we serve, the people that work with us that actually build success. And it's people that are leaders that are passionate about people.
Man, that's so powerful. And when thinking about that, it's like the greatness within us is truly unleashed when the greatness of others are helping release that. So, and when thinking about our mission on GNG Podcast, if you've been listening to this podcast for a long period of time, or if it's your first time tuning in, excited that you're here. Our mission is to provide tips and techniques for young men as they strive to grow in their personal development and leadership. And Mike, I know you were a young man at one point in your life, still is, if many would say, you know. And how would you dive into your teenage years? Now, I know I read and I heard you talk about in previous encounters of you almost overdosing at one point in your life at the age of 17 to be exact. And again, I know we have a lot of young men, also people who are influencing and empowering young men is listening to us right now. So can you kind of talk through kind of what led you up to that moment and also, how'd you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, I never have a hard time talking about this because I always believe somebody out there potentially is feeling what I felt when I was younger. So I talked about people, and people can be the point of good, point of bad. So throughout life, just went through a lot of abuse, both physically and sexually. Stepfathers that thought their stepson was their punching bag. Alcohol, being a part of our family that caused anger, frustration, being the older brother that is trying to make sure that brother and sister are okay because the cops are called to the house or whatever's going on. And I used to, when I was angry, it was always somebody else's fault. So it was my mom's fault. It was, anybody that left me in that situation fault. But, as you get older, you start to realize that, they're doing the best that they can. And so when I tell this story, I always like to tell it with the heart of kindness and love because I have a great relationship with my family today. But it was difficult times. And I was also the kid in school that was bullied quite a bit. I wasn't much of a sports guy. And I was pretty much to myself and quiet. And I had finally had enough. And I think depression hit pretty hard. I moved around a lot. I was the kid that went to 3 high schools, 3 middle schools, probably, 12 elementary schools. Moved 3 different states throughout my time. So it led to one day me just deciding I was done. I didn't live near my family at the time. I lived in Rhode Island, and I swallowed, 2 or 3 bottles worth of codeine and various pills that were in the cabinet, about 180 or so. And then I walked out of the house. Didn't leave a note. Didn't leave any kind of goodbye. Just wanted to be done. The truth is it's one of the worst moments in your life. But when you are saved and have the opportunity to do it over, some changes happened in my life because of that time that led me probably to the person I am today.
Yes, it's one of my favorite quotes is, there's no greater agony than the bearing of an untold story inside of you. And thank you for sharing that story and to others as well, because, when I think about that story and how from the age of 17 to where you are today, you turned that pain that for most could continue to hinder them and keep them from striving for greatness. But you turned that pain into power, the power to influence so many people, so many different scopes of life, so many diversities and cultures. And so excited to hear that you came on the other side of that moment.
Well, I will tell you, for anybody listening, young people feel this all the time. And we're fools to think that they're not questioning life. At that time, I was not a believer, or at least I was questioning. Can there really be a God if these things are happening to me? And then we all as adults say, just come talk to us. But do we make it easy on our youth? Do we give them opportunity? Do we listen or do we judge? And I think that every time I tried to speak, I was ignored. And so what led me to that really is because nobody's listening.
Wow.
And when somebody makes that decision, we have to think of our responsibility. So your friends, your family, people that are around you, are you listening? Are you noticing? Because the I guess it's unexpected when it's going to happen. I just woke up one day and decided that was it. This was not a planned situation. This was, I'm done. I'm done living this life. And I look at teachers, friends, family, nobody knew it was coming.
Wow.
But they didn't know it was coming because they weren't asking the questions. They were just living every day, day by day. So I think it's important for anybody that hears me talk about this that they understand that the best thing you can do right now is seek out somebody for help, but also to make sure that you're listening to others.
That's so good. That's so good. And I know you talked about people weren't asking the right questions. As you were moving through, as far as finding that source of hope, like I know you're a Christ follower, and that's the ultimate foundation. What kind of led you into kind of building upon that foundation? And when I say that, what's like your Mount Rushmore of influential people that's came across your path over the years that that's impacted and influenced you to want more, to want it to turn that pain into power, to want to care, value, and serve the way that you do in the community?
I first of all, I'll describe it as, and I said this to my team, when your heart is full of anger and hate, you don't have room for God. So from 17 to probably 25, I didn't have room.
Wow.
So I got married as a non-believer, or questioning. I'm not sure which one is the truth, to be honest with you. But my wife was that rock. She was that Mount Rushmore. I met her at the YMCA.
Ain't they so good, the wives,
Yeah,
man?
so she was, she put up with the emotions that come with, because I didn't trust anybody. I didn't believe anybody could be loyal. I didn't believe you could really have friends, because I believed that no one really cared. And so I met Laura, and then, I had a friend at the YMCA that sat me on the downtown Y steps and introduced Christ, and talked about it. And, and I've been through a roller coaster of challenges. 2 weeks after I accepted and we cried together, I got led to the hospital because we lost our first kid at birth. And all over again, I felt that pain of why me? I thought it was supposed to be different now. So the road traveled has been difficult, but my faith actually has gotten stronger. I still question lots of things.
Oh man.
But my faith is stronger, because I stopped believing that my relationship with Christ had anything to do with anybody else. My relationship with Christ was mine. And I kept always building my relationship around others' actions. And what I realized is that I needed to take the time to think about what that relationship was going to be for me. And that's made it stronger and allowed me to handle all the things that have come my way.
Wow, that's so good. And whenever we're talking about your relationship and growing in Christ and getting that foundation, understanding it's about you and your relationship, not about others, how would you encourage that young man to really flip that switch and really take on that whole perspective or that self-reflection, if you will?
Flip the switch to the point that they have a relationship?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, it first of all, to know that it's not as easy as just flipping the switch. It's making a choice.
Whoa. Hold on. You got to say that again. Somebody need to hear that one again. That was good.
Well, I think we just think that we're going to wake up and everything's going to be better if we flip the switch. And I just found that I had to make the choice.
That's so good.
And so when I made the choice, I looked at everything differently, because now it's a different lens. So that's why I always tell people, look in the mirror. Stare at yourself for a few minutes. Are you happy with who you see? Do you like the reflection that's coming off? But I mean, it's not just as quick as that switch.
Right.
But when you make the choice, then you start to practice. Then you start to read. Then you start to seek out friendships and relationships that are different than the ones that you had before. You start to notice. It's kind of like when you buy a new car, a car that you never saw on the road. And then when you buy it and you start driving, all of a sudden everyone's driving the same car as you. Well, when you accept a relationship with Christ and make that choice, suddenly you start to run into all kinds of people that also have made that choice. And it makes the journey a little bit easier as you go through it.
I love that. And if you're tuning in right now, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm sitting here with Mike Brown, President, CEO of YMCA Metropolitan of Fort Worth, dropping some major gems. If you're just now capturing up to this point, hopefully you listened to me and got your pen and paper out. But if you didn't, that's okay. You can pause it, rewind it back, and catch the insight and the perspective and the amazing story of Mike Brown and how he's impacting and influenced Gifting to Gift podcast. And I know there's someone, Mike, that's really encouraged by what you've been sharing, and they want to kind of get more involved with what you have going on. So two things. So I would love for you to share, like, hey, what's coming up with Mike? What's kind of going on in your world, and how can we be praying for you, supporting you? And second, also, how can we contact you and get around a little bit more things that you have going on and how you impacting the community?
Yeah, so I'll first start saying I created a page that has information, contact information at MikeBrownJr.com.
Mm-hmm.
So easy to get a hold, easy to find contact information. Junior is in JR, MikeBrownJR.com. And then, right now it's just leading people and getting rest and spending time with family and continuing to go down this road, even at times when you don't want to.
Mm.
So what's next can be bigger things, great things for people. So we're always looking for prayers for the organization, for individuals.
Any last words of encouragement?
I will say that we're always looking for answers, and we want it to just be right there in front of our face. The thing is to remember that whatever life brought isn't necessarily your fault. But the worst thing you can do is think that it's over and to spend more time trying to find the people that you can trust and talk with, but open up and have a voice either for someone else or for yourself. There's all kinds of people out there that want to help. If it's a question of faith or God or life choices, just find that person and know that life does get better. Life really does. I'm living proof that it does. But you have to make the choice that you also want it to get better.
I love it. You definitely came off the top rope, Randy Savage elbow. Finish moves, man. This has been very fruitful. Thank you so much for your time, your effort, your relentless consistency, resiliency, and your own self-reflection to again impact and influence people to become a greater version of themselves. Definitely a big impact on me, and I know for so many others. And this is definitely very fruitful. And again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
For you out there listening, hey, thank you so much for being here. And hey, I want you to stay up with GNG Podcast. More episodes are coming soon. I want you to do two things for me. I want you to keep that crown on your heart. And always remember this: we are God's echo. I love each and every one of you. Peace.
Thank you for listening to GNG Podcast. Remember, you are gifted differently to make a difference. Please visit ChazJacksonSpeaks.org and let's continue to grow together. God bless.